Ah, another beautiful day in Majula. Well, guess I should check my mail. Oh, it's a letter from Lemon. I wonder what he's up to.
My dearest Doomwolf, I hope the weather in Majula is treating you nicely, and I look forward to your return to the Firebomb Academy. As for why I'm sending you this parcel, I would like to cordially invite you to the Dark Souls 2 2-Shot Challenge. You'll be able to test your skills against the other runners and show off what you've learned while...
Hello everyone and welcome. This is the Dark Souls 2 2-Shot Challenge. May the pain begin. First, the rules. Well, there's kind of a lot of them, so instead of putting a huge wall of text on screen, I'll cover the specifics when they become relevant. For now, the core rules are: 1. Every target must die in 0, 1, or 2 shots. 2. No skips or glitches. And 3. Unlike the last contest, we are able to level up as much as we want. Trust me, it doesn't make it any easier. I name my character and pick the warrior class as it has the most strength, then take the petrified something as my starting gift. Honestly, I don't have high hopes for this run. Ladies, what do you think my chances of winning are?
Doesn't stand a chance.
Gee, thanks girls. I'll have you know you're on the target list. Speaking of targets, I should specify that not every non-respawning entity in this game is a target. Lemon, in his benevolence, decided to trim a lot of the fat. That being said, obviously every boss and NPC in the game is a target, as well as a few select mini-bosses. I'll put a full list in the description below for those of you that want to play along at home. Also, for those of you wondering, yes, I have sort of done this before. I attempted to one-shot my way through this game shortly after the first contest, and it didn't go so well. That's why when Lemon announced this contest, I put on the Black Parade and proceeded to cry myself to sleep in agony for about a week and a half. Whether you've watched that video or not, comment down below how far you think I'll get. Hopefully, I'll shatter your expectations, but who's to say? Okay, enough rambling, let's get this show on the road. I start off by doing all the usual Majula things, then head into the Forest of Fallen Giants. My objective here is just to get the key to Leningrass Hut because I'm not getting anywhere without an upgraded weapon. I ended up making the broken straight sword even more broken, so I had to beat this hollow to death with my bare hands for the final souls that I needed. With his door open, I can now move on to getting an actual weapon. Now, some of you might be wondering why I went with the warrior. Surely a spellcaster with access to devastating sorceries or pyromancies would be a way better option. Well, no, actually. Sorceries and pyromancies got nerfed into the ground in Dark Souls 2. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. They still hit hard, but for reasons I'll explain in a bit, strength is a better play. But where is a bearer of the curse to find such a great weapon? Well, in the bottom of a pit, of course. Literally, I need to go to the gutter. Now, I don't actually have the souls to survive this fall, but wouldn't you know it, the easiest target in the whole game is already within our grasp. So I head over to Hyde's Tower and drop the Dragonrider into the deep water, netting our first kill in 0 hits. I make sure to have a nice little chat with Licia so she'll move to Majula, then I realize that I still don't have enough souls to buy that stupid cat ring, so I attempt to farm some from the Hyde Knights. It didn't go so well. After realizing the error of my ways and standing on this ledge, a few more knights go for a swim and I have enough to buy the cat ring. Wow, I don't think I could have cut that any closer. Slowly making my way down, I touch the grave of Saint's bonfire, for safety of course, then do the old punch trick to fall to the gutter safely. Nothing really happens on my descent. Except I forgot which ladder was the right one and I kind of just fell to my death, but that's okay, next time I actually look where I'm going. Funnily enough, I still went the wrong way, but it wasn't so wrong that I ended up dead, which is more than I could say for all these hollows trying to beat me in this game of King of the Tower Hill. After fisting all the hollows to death, I can finally claim my prize, the Great Club. Now, as great as this weapon is, like I said earlier, without being able to upgrade it, it's not really going anywhere. Fortunately, I have a solution for that too, and it's right down the road. These enemies, that are apparently called Coltars, have a chance of dropping large Titanite shards as well as Titanite chunks. Meaning, with enough farming, I can use the Titanite shards Leningrass cells to get my weapon all the way to +9. So I used the fragrant branch of yore I picked up nearby to destonify this guy, just for an easy bonfire to farm from, and get to work. I do get invaded by the NPCs down here, but thankfully they aren't on the list. Though, even if they were, they just like to walk themselves off cliffs anyway, so that wouldn't have been a problem. At any rate, now is the best time to talk about one of the special rules. Cheat engine. Whoa, wait, hold on. Put your pitchforks and your angry comments down, it's not as bad as you think, I promise. The use of cheat engine is permitted for 2 very specific reasons. The first is that if we are able to prove that an item is farmable, we are allowed to give ourselves that item. This is done in an attempt to vastly cut down the amount of time spent in this run and hopefully reduce the file size for when Lemon ultimately needs to sift through all of our footage for the contest. Fun fact, even with this rule in place, my footage ended up being over 600 gigabytes, so have fun with that, Lemon. I'm getting expelled from the Firebomb Academy, aren't I? Anyway, thanks to these Coal Tar enemies, I essentially have an endless supply of large Titanite shards and chunks to use at my disposal. It's also possible to farm this ogre in the Forest of Fallen Giants for Titanite shards, and I tried that, but this thing killed me more times than like all the bosses in this run combined, so I just decided to leave him. There is another easier enemy to farm shards from, and I'll mention it when I get there. Anyway, back on track, I make my weapon a +9, then talk to Lycia to open up the path to Huntsman's Copse. I actually play through this area pretty normally, mostly because I need a few souls for various items and levels. Actual footage of me fighting another me in PvP. I take my winnings and buy 10 alluring skulls and then bring my strength to 24 as it's finally time to take on the first proper boss, the Skeleton Lords. So, let's talk about Special Rule 4, Article F, Subsection U, Multi-Enemy Boss Fights. Please observe as I hit the Skeleton Lord for 939 damage, but it only does 520 damage to their boss health bar. Essentially, boss fights in Dark Souls 2 that have multiple enemies tied to one health bar do not share that health bar, they simply take up a portion of it. As such, we are not required to deplete the whole health bar in one go, only that we need to kill the enemy in 1 or 2 hits. Additionally, enemies in the boss arena that are not part of the health bar, such as the rats in the Roya Rat Authority, function as normal enemies and do not adhere to the 1-2 shot rule at all. With that taken care of, the actual Skeleton Lord's fight isn't hard. All of the skeletons, both big, small, and wheelie, die in a single hit. The problem is that a large number of them have shields, which would let them live that single hit. But that's where the alluring skulls come in. They don't last that long, but it's long enough that the Bone Bros will turn their back to me, letting me guarantee a free hit to one-shot all of them. Of course, it would be smart to use the wide sweeping light attack of the club, but I was afraid I would accidentally clip a shield, so instead I opted to just exclusively use the overhead smash. I was actually playing extremely conservatively, only getting 1 skeleton per skull, which wasn't intentional, but it did cause some concern near the end of the fight when I actually ran out of the skulls and there were still 3 left alive. Undead. So, the new strat was to separate them and take them out one at a time. I nearly had a heart attack when one walked close to me holding his shield. Thankfully, I missed him, which is just one more proof that the hitboxes in this game are strange. Regardless, after a couple of minutes, every skeleton in the fight falls in just 1 hit. Just a real quick reminder to everyone out there, I've got merch. So if you're looking for a cool shirt or warm hoodie with an awesome design, check out the link below. Over in Harvest Valley, I make sure to check out Cloan Stones for reasons, then grab a few of the goodies from the poison pool. Nothing of particular interest right now, but this place will be essential shortly. Anyway, I return to Majula and level up and buy infinite shards from Cloan. She doesn't sell infinite shards yet. Okay, well, that's fine. The skeletons can drop them according to the wiki, so I spent some time trying to farm one, but honestly, it just got annoying taking constant poison damage. So I thought, what the heck, I don't need them right now, I'll just come back when I do, so it's off to No Man's Wharf. Once again, I clear this level pretty normally for the souls, as I need to buy some stuff from the 2 NPCs here. Okay, well, I need to change my pants now. Gavlin here sells poison paper. I'm not sure how useful it's going to be overall, but poison is incredibly busted in this game, so I want to make sure I can access it. Next, I talk to Carhillion, and from him I buy a staff and the clear bluestone ring. He also sells magic weapon, which would be good, except it's already possible to get another spell that outclasses it. With that little amount of prep work out of the way, I head back to Huntsman's Copse to grab another weapon. You know, I have never tried to get down here, so I don't know the intended path, so I just, throw myself onto some nearby mushrooms. At the bottom of this pit is a giant basilisk, which always drops large titanite. It also respawns, so this is another way to get those if you want to. Either way, I'm here for Ricard's rapier. What are the odds that trapdoor lead me out here? I return to the Black Gulch where Forlorn shows me what a pain in the ass it would be if I had to one-shot every invader too, then I grab Great Magic Weapon. Ladies, saw your Flame Fan only run in Dark Souls 3, just wanted to say I'm a huge fan. Hey, I deserve that. I came back here for 2 reasons. The first was to farm Titanite shards from the undead steelworkers, as they apparently have a higher chance to drop them instead of the skeletons, and after a couple passes, I got one. The other reason was for the Bane Digger enemies, as they have a chance to drop smooth and silky stones. Yeah, I'm sure you can guess where this is going. Except then something weird happened. Just by a pure stroke of luck, I killed a steelworker and it dropped a small smooth and silky stone. What I find mildly annoying is that the wiki page on Vextra for small smooth and silky stones does not say that these enemies drop them. The enemy page does, sure, but if you were looking to farm an item, you would go to that item's page, not check every enemy in the game's page to see if it drops it. Regardless, these guys are way easier to take down, so that's nice. But again, looking at the wiki, small, smooth, and silky stones can be traded at the crows for a random low mid-tier item. This implies that you can't get the lowest or highest tier items from these. If that's true, that sucks because the Chandler's Trident, Titanite Slab, and Petrified Dragon Bones are only listed in the high tier of items. But I'll worry about that in a moment. First, I have some more prep work to do, so I farm some souls from the Coal Tar enemies and then use them to buy the Fragrant Branch of Yore from Malentia. Conveniently, this also grants me the Silver Serpent Ring, though I honestly didn't use it very much. To be honest, I did this because I thought a Fragrant Branch was necessary to get to the crows, but I'm just stupid. Oh well, I would need this eventually, so no harm no foul, I guess. I then returned to the Grave of Saints to pick up another invaluable item in this run, the Hex Whispers of Despair. This neat little thing is a debuff that will decrease the enemy's defenses. Well, specifically their physical defense, but as you can see, a big bonk. I buy a couple firebombs from Valencia, then return to Majula where I preemptively trigger the trap by blowing up the barrels. Where was the big kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom! Whatever, I free Rosabeth then promptly die to the trap because this game is trash. Maybe this time I can make it work. I hate this game. Eventually, I make it through and pick up my prize, the red Tearstone ring. Now, this thing was essential in the Dark Souls 1 one-shot, but in Dark Souls 2, it got nerfed into the ground so hard, archaeologists thought it was an ancient artifact. Previously, it boosted physical and magical damage by an insane 50% while below 20% HP. Now, it only boosts it by 20% when you're below 30. The bigger issue though, is in Dark Souls 2, it only affects physical damage. That's right, no more 2-ton Warhead Fire Tempest for me. Again, right now, things only affecting physical defense or attack isn't a huge issue because I'm using a melee weapon. But some bosses really don't give a shit about melee, and the only way to do any considerable damage is via spells, but I'll get to that when I have to. Anyway, at this point, I invoke the cheat engine rule and give myself 99 Titanite shards and small, smooth, and silky stones, then it's off to do some trading. The first thing I learned is that you shouldn't drop your whole stack because things start to disappear before you can pick them up. Well, I guess I'll just start over. The second thing I learned is that the wiki is, once again, just wrong. You absolutely can get the highest tier of items from these. As such, I was able to collect a Demon's Great Hammer, a Titanite Slab, a Chandler's Trident, Twinkling Titanite, and about every infusion stone possible. Well, every stone except Pale Stones apparently, but those can be farmed from the Old Knights and Heights Tower, so that's fine. Since I am able to infinitely farm small, smooth, and silky stones, that means I am also able to infinitely have any of the items I just mentioned. I do a tiny bit of farming to level up Int and Faith to 8, that way Falcon will talk to me. He actually has several things I want, namely Resonant Weapon, but I'm broke, so let's go smash some adorable rats. Like I said in the Skeleton Lords fight, these rats aren't part of the health bar, so they don't actually need to be one-shot, but I mean, I can anyway. Eventually, the boss shows up. To test out my damage, I do about half his health. Honestly, with 0 buffs on, that's not so bad, but clearly that's not a 20% difference, so RTSR wouldn't help. But you know what would? Some levels. So I think it's time to talk about the other permitted use of Cheat Engine. We are allowed to give ourselves souls, as it is no different than farming respawning enemies. Again, this is an attempt to keep the footage from being like 12 petabytes in size. At first, I thought I wouldn't make myself too overpowered, but I'll be completely honest, my friends, the first time I did this run, it was pure pain. I dreaded having to sit down and record it, so this time it's not about being fair or winning some contest. No, this time, it's about sending a message. Fuck! Okay, jokes aside, that was without RTSR on, and with it, yeah, this boss is an easy one-shot. Also worth noting, I didn't actually take all of my stats to 99, but that's mostly because I got bored and figured I didn't really need it. Anyway, after the fight, I entered the Rat Covenant just for the Rat Ring, which will help with poison damage. Speaking of poison, it would probably be a good idea to buy Gavlan's whole stock. Oh, he's gone. Yeah, that's kind of a problem. Right now he's in Harvest Valley, which is fine, but if he moves again, he will be in the Doors of Pharos, which is on the other side of Najka. I don't know if I can get through Najka, honestly. So, even though I bought all of his stuff now, he would be an inaccessible target if he goes there. As such, I kinda need to piss him off to halt his questline. Easy enough, I just hit him a few times with my sword, and just like that, we've saved him for later. At this point, I decided to finally do something I was dreading, and that's the last giant. So, I return to the forest and clear my way through like normal. In my previous video, I was unable to one-shot the last giant with my Demon's Great Hammers. I got close, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, so I knew I would need to change my tactics. My first plan was dual Chandler's Tridents. With RTSR, Resonant Weapon, and Poison Pine Resin, my plan was to do a lot of damage in a hit and then proceed to proc poison. It didn't work. Fun fact, I'm just a moron and didn't realize that the power stance attack doesn't cause the head on the Trident to spin, which is what I was hoping for with the poison. Next attempt was with Ricard's Rapier, of course RTSR boosted, and I wanted to use the strong attacks multi-hit to proc poison, which again, didn't work. Looking back at my footage, I didn't actually try with other buffs on, like the Dance or Whispers, so that might have helped, but I digress. Also, speaking of poison, it has its own special ruling. It didn't end up being useful here, but when it is, I'll explain it. At this point, I decided to go with what would soon become a staple of the run. Dual Great Hammers, Resonant Weapon, RTSR, and the Trident Dance, with extra dark pine resin for some nice tender last giant leg meat. But it too failed me. Fortunately, there are several things I could do to up my damage even more, like using a Bright Bug, but again, it just doesn't happen. What if I add Whispers of Despair? Nope. I had thought maybe it's because the Trident buff wore off. After all, it only lasts 15 seconds, and casting it outside the arena, then doing Whispers and a Pine Resin probably took enough time that it wore off, so I decided to cast it inside the arena. I did get a bit more damage, but still the last giant stands. Fortunately, there was still something I could do, even though it would take ages. I returned to the Shaded Woods where I open a door to... Okay, I guess I don't open that door. Making my way up the drenched walkways of Dragonslayer Castle, the massive doors open to reveal a ghost of an NPC. He's already dead. Does that count as a zero shot? While I have this challenge runner's existential crisis, I move into the main room where I am able to grab the frozen flower. This lets me use the shrine I passed a few moments ago to access the Crown of the Ivory King DLC, which yeah, we'll get to the DLC bosses later. For now, I'm here to pick up one specific item. Oh hey, an ice rapier. Neat. Not useful, but cool. Anyway, I grab the Dark Clutch Ring, hopefully boosting the damage of my Resonant Weapon and or Pine Resin. Then I return to the Black Gulch where I take down the Giants for the Forgotten Key, which lets me access the nearby door for Dark Diver Gandalf. While I was here though, this Coltar decided to join me and I nearly shit bricks when he hit Old Man Dark over there, but I was able to stay cool and take care of it. Next, I speak with him in Dragonslayer Castle, then finally in the Shaded Woods, which allows me to join the Pilgrims of the Dark, and more importantly, grants me the Abyss Seal. I also bought Profound Still from him, just in case. Now, according to the wiki, the Abyss Seal boosts hexes at the cost of your health, and it explicitly states that it also affects Dark and Resonant Weapon, but not in Scholar of the First Sin. To be honest, I don't know if I trusted it, but since I had an open ring slot anyway, I figured what the hex, might as well wear it. With my new equipment, I step back into the ring with the last giant, and 2,452. The last giant has 2,530 HP. I was 78 points of damage short. I sure hope this doesn't turn into another Manus situation. I'm not even sure if the last giant can take instability damage. Hell, I'm not even sure if instability damage is a thing in Dark Souls 2. However, I bet infusions would help. I just need to get to the Lost Bastille. So I buy some gold pine resin from Vanguard, then head over to No Man's Wharf to take on the Flexile Sentry. Quick side note here, unless otherwise specified, it should be assumed that I am doing every fight with RTSR, Whispers, Resonant Weapon, a Trident Dance, and some kind of resin. Well, and a Bright Bug depending on if it's necessary or not, as those are in limited supply. Anyway, Flexile Sentry. Yeah, no, that wasn't even close. I tried again, but all I got was some weird hitbox porn. So that direction of Lost Bastille is a no-go. Fortunately, there is another way in, which is through the Pursuer. Except I just realized while editing that I would still need the key from the last giant to get to the Crow's Nest, but the Pursuer does drop the Ring of Blades, so maybe that would be enough. Fortunately, there is an early encounter with him near the bonfire. Unfortunately, he has even more health than the last giant, so yeah, that's not happening either. Now, to be fair, any of these bosses could simply be two-shot to allow for progress, but in the case of the last giant at least, I felt like I was so close that there just had to be something else I could do. It was at this point I spoke to another runner, Challenger Andy, about my grievances, and he bestowed upon me some sage-like words of wisdom.
Young Doom, the answer has been in your heart all along. All you need do is look.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, the answer in your heart is to get good, you scrub.
And thus my vigor was renewed and I knew there was something I could do. I started testing things that didn't make sense. Maybe it was another fire surge situation, who knows. First was Dark Fog. Yeah, that didn't help. I mean, sure, it poisoned the last giant, but like, even with 2 casts, it's not enough to one-shot. It occurred to me that I hadn't really given multi-hit weapons a chance. Maybe that held the solution, and after some research, I found that the Halberd class weapons had multi-hit attacks, so I grabbed the basic one nearby and maxed it out. The Sprinting Light attack is a spin that hits 3 times. I actually missed the first time, but the other 2 showed some promise. However, it didn't look like it was enough overall, but maybe, just maybe, I was onto something. After a little more research, I found out that there was a dark infused scythe in the Shaded Woods, as well as the Black Knight's halberd. I mean, the last giant is weak to dark, right? So maybe if I resonant weapon the dark scythe, that damage will be enough. It's worth a shot. This time I opted for a charge attack. No, that's not enough. No matter what I do, the last giant will not fall. Okay, at this point, I had kind of given up. It felt like the first run all over again, just me bashing my head into the wall and just not making any progress no matter what I do. On a whim, I decided to try the Black Knight's halberd. I mean, I had gone out of my way to pick it up, so why not? What? That was the answer? The weapon with split damage? How? Why? Is the scaling just that much better than the other two halberd class weapons? I don't really know why that worked over the Dark Infused Resonant Weapon buff scythe, but I guess I'll take it and the run carries on. I was hopeful that this was the secret to dealing with Pursuer. Unfortunately, it wasn't. In fact, I was even further away, and I can only assume that's because he has so much higher slash resistance than Strike. I thought maybe the second hit of the overhead slam, which is a 2-hit spin, might do it, but still nothing. It was at this point that I decided I didn't care about the Pursuer one-shot. So, to hell with him, I just took him down in 2. And my reward is the Ring of Blades, a nice little boost to my damage. In the Lost Bastille, I grab the Dull Ember, then meet with McDuff, a man that would be essential to the run. I think. Honestly, even after doing this, I still don't fully understand infusions. Sometimes it's like, oh, a boss that's weak to fire, so I'll infuse a fire-based weapon with fire and it does like 50% less damage than with no infusion, so who knows, honestly. Anyway, I slapped Dark on both my hammers because someone once told me that Dark Infused plus Resonant Weapon equals big juicy damage, then make my way back to Dragonslayer Castle and prepare to take on the twin Dragonriders. Honestly, going in, I thought this setup was going to be enough to one-shot them. Wow, that is way less damage than I thought it would be. Let me try again, but with Whispers. That's more, but that's still a lot of health left. So what plan did I come up with for this fight? Well, I didn't. I just decided to two-shot them. Well, specifically, I two-shot the first rider and one-shot the second one, but for the purposes of this contest, that means overall, Twin Dragonriders was a two-shot. Now, you might be wondering why I came all this way instead of taking on other bosses and getting stronger first, or something like that. Well, that's easy. Entering Dragonslayer Castle is Kathia's Chime, which I believe has great scaling with dark damage and thus probably boosts the damage of my resonant weapon. Maybe. I didn't really understand spell buffs either. This run would be a lot easier if I understood the game. Right, well, I think it's time to take a break from hunting bosses to instead hunt the most dangerous game. I buy one of everything from Licia, most importantly Force, then buff up. She doesn't know what's about to hit her. Why does she have so much health? That's a problem, but every problem has a solution if you look hard enough. So I aggro her by shoving my pointy stick in her repeatedly, then lure her outside. Time for another rule explanation. Basically, what counts as a hit is the button press that results in a target losing some amount of HP. In other words, I can cast Force, or Whispers of Despair for that matter, as much as I want as they themselves do not cause direct harm. This distinction might seem minute and unimportant, but believe me, it changes the run dramatically. Either way, I do my best to reenact Dark Souls 1 Wrath of the Gods Nerfed Edition and Licia falls to the water below. At first, I thought Force was the answer to all my NPC prayers, but then I remembered that it simply can't move some NPCs like the Emerald Herald, so that kinda sucks. Next up, I use my huge mallet to smash Chloanne, also I hit her with my hammers. Same goes for the Crestfallen Warrior. Initially, I was carefully picking my targets to make sure I didn't lose out on something important down the line because I kinda forgot this game has the Gravestone mechanic. Because of that, I thought if I killed the Emerald Herald, I would just be out of the ability to level up. So, 99 in every stat it is. I am the apex bearer of the curse. You know what sucks? I just bought a stack of Homeward Bones. Talk about a waste of money.
Yo, she's dead.
I thanked Linigras for his services, then let myself into Kale's house before teaching him that you shouldn't give your house keys to strangers. Honestly, what was he thinking? And with that, my first murder spree is complete. At this point, there are still a few key items that might be useful, so I head back to Hyde's Tower of Flame for the next boss and our first mini-boss. This dragon is on my hit list, and I wasn't sure how hard that was going to be. I was able to one-shot him in my previous video, but if I remember correctly, I had permacrits enabled. Here, no such luck. Fortunately for me, he's a pushover, which is not something I can say for old Dragonslayer. Let's see what the baseline damage is looking like. Okay, that's not a lot. Even if I add Whispers on top of it, what killed me? Oh yeah, I forgot, the Abyss Seal causes you to take damage when you cast hexes. Oops. Okay, so this is where we have to get a bit creative. I head back to Majula to burn a bonfire aesthetic to push it into New Game Plus, then buy everything Moglin has. Doing so will cause him to update his stock, and since we are technically in New Game Plus, he will also sell the butterfly set, which as you probably know, can passively poison a target. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Doom, you absolute buffoon, you complete moron, you man with less brain cells than he has fingers. Why would you not just get this immediately and zero-shot every boss that can be poisoned? Well, because status effects, particularly poison and toxic, are extremely effective in Dark Souls 2. So much so that they have their own rules. Essentially, the act of proccing a status effect would count as a hit. Thus, while there is no rule saying we can't use the butterfly set, it's not particularly helpful as most, if not all bosses have more than the around 2000 damage we can inflict. But what about poisoned weapons? You know, anything that can inflict poison on hit. For example, Ricard's Rapier here has a multi-hit attack, and after they land, old Dragonslayer is infested with the green. You'll even see momentarily that this brought him down to lower than half health, but why is this important? Because another rule is that if the status effect is procced on weapon hit, it counts as the same damage that the attack does, and thus is a single hit. And this, my friends, is the key. This is what blasts this run wide open. In its simplest form, that means every boss in the game that can be poisoned suddenly has about 2,000 less health we have to worry about, or 1,000 if you're trying to one-shot. But if you think that sounds like easy mode, oh, just you wait, my friends. This shit gets crazy real fast. I tested several things out on old Dragonslayer. My initial hope was that dual poison demons great hammers would be enough to proc poison. They aren't. I then tried a poison scythe. I'm stupid because the charge attack only hits twice, just like how there are only 2 demons great hammers, so unsurprisingly, this doesn't work either. Then I began testing other things, like a dark hammer with a poison one. This was just to see if I could do more than half his health in a single attack. Close, but no. A normal and dark hammer is, but then there's no poison. But I have rotten pine resin, and that just adds a flat damage buff plus build up to the weapon. Yes, more than half. This is also without Whispers or the Trident buff, so putting those on top of it, plus poison, it should be enough to one-shot, right? But how do I apply poison like this? Well, I already established that 2 poison great hammers can't do it, but this is where the butterfly set comes in. Like I said, standing next to the boss causes passive poison buildup, and if that procs, then that counts as a hit. But what if we didn't let it proc? What if I build up the boss's poison, then just before it's enough, I remove the set and hit him with my hammer? Then the poison comes from the damage, and it's only 1 hit. All I have to do now is wait and see if it's enough. And that's old Dragonslayer in 1 hit, baby. A few side notes here. First, I didn't use Whispers or the Trident, and I'll explain why on a later boss. Secondly, I didn't realize how the rat ring actually worked until much later in the run, but as I had an open ring slot anyway, it kinda didn't matter in this case. And lastly, using this strategy would probably be enough for Pursuer and Twin Dragonriders, but I couldn't be bothered to reload a save. I make a quick run to Huntsman Copse. I hate this game. Grab the Token of Fidelity, then return to Targray, who sells several things, but most importantly, Heavenly Thunder. And when I say most importantly, this might be the single most important thing I did in the whole run, even though I didn't realize it at the time. Either way, he is now useless to me. So, what is Heavenly Thunder? Well, it's a pretty high damage lightning miracle that creates multiple lightning bolts around the player, and I'm already having flashbacks to Fire Tempest in the Dark Souls 1 contest. I figured a good boss to test this on would be the Flexile Sentry. I mean, his whole gimmick is that there's water in the arena, which for those of you that don't know, in this game, water makes you take more lightning damage. Big surprise, right? Wow, that's a lot of damage. I think he's one-shottable with some luck. Definitely can be 2-shot. Probably by more things in this spell, but I'm gonna put a pin in him for now. Alright, there's no ignoring it anymore. There is one item in the game that would make this contest trivial, probably, and it's the Engraved Gauntlets. They have a 5% chance to do 1.5 times as much damage, which, as you can imagine, would be fucking awesome for this run. The downside is, it's past Scorpioness Najka, who is a complete bitch. Do you remember that whole poison really helps take care of bosses with a lot of health thing? Well, guess what she's immune to? I mean, it makes sense, something natural Scorpioness antibodies, but that severely complicates things. Just look at how little damage I do to this boss. I tried so many things, Dark Hammers, the Black Knight's Halberd, Heavenly Thunder, standing on her back, nothing. Nothing worked. Nothing got even close to half her health. She even accidentally flung me up in the air at some point, and I thought, oh, maybe with good luck I can get a plunging attack. Yeah, no, when factoring in needing to get all my buffs off and the RNG needed to land something like that, it's more likely I'd win the lottery 4 times over. It's not happening, okay? I even cheated in several damage boosting items just to see if I could take advantage of her fire weakness, just to see. I just wanted to know, but no. Chaos Storm sucks so bad it couldn't do it either. If this was Dark Souls 1, she would be Fried Scorpion, I tell you what. No, Najka is impossible. And that's okay. I accept that, and it's time to move on. At this point, I only had one Bright Bug left, so the logical next boss is any of them that would update Malentia's stock. I figured since there was a very close bonfire to it, I would try the Rotten. Well, can't say I didn't expect that. I tried various different things, like a fire-infused Black Knight's Halberd. Nope. Lightning Ricard's Rapier. Nuh-uh. Lightning Black Knight's Halberd. Still no. And Heavenly Thunder, which, you guessed it, is a no. So Rotten is impossible too. That's fine, maybe I should just go for Looking Last Night. I mean, he updates her stocks of bright bugs too, so why not? So I make my way through Dragonslayer Castle, smashing a pair of queens in this room before these horsehead statues put me in my place. Eventually, I was ready to try Mr. Mirror. Now, he's an interesting one. Apparently, he's weak to fire and resists lightning. However, since he stands in the rain, those actually kinda cancel each other out. I'm not sure if it's 1-to-1 or one of the elements is better, but would you be surprised if I told you it didn't matter? Here I am hitting him with fire hammers. Yep, that's awful damage. Lightning Black Knight's Halberd? Well, ignoring his shield that stops all damage, it's better, but still not enough. So it looks like he's off the table too. You know, at first I was annoyed thinking I wasn't getting anywhere, but maybe this was a blessing. Maybe I should be thankful. The first run caused so much heartache, so this is the universe trying to throw me a bone. Anyway, I still have more targets to try, but need bright bugs. Freja is off the table immediately because she's behind Najka, so that just leaves the Lost Center. Fortunately, I already know from experience that the Rune Sentinels are doable, except I might have done it with a bright bug, and obviously I don't want to burn one here, so let's just try it without it first. I didn't use Whispers or... oh wow, I'm alive. Anyway. Oh, that is so close. Let's go. Okay, now I just stand in this corner and reapply the Trident buff, then wait. Okay, I had the right idea, but just need better execution. Actually, there's no reason to stand in that corner since I can one-shot the boss anyway. I don't actually have to have the extra time to close in. As such, I stand on the other end of the platform and just wait for the other Sentinels to jump up to me. It took a couple of tries, but that's Rune Sentinels in one shot. Feels good to be making progress again. I'm sure that won't come to a grinding halt soon. Hey, thanks for helping me get into RTSR range, Mr. Mummy Man. Okay, a little too much help there. Lost Center, my last hope if I want to keep this already dying run on just a little more life support. So of course my initial plan was to just try and hit her as hard as I could, and to my surprise, I did more than half her health. It took everything in my power to not just hit her again and be done with it, but I felt like I could go a little further. The obvious answer was poison. With the right attack plus poison, it should be enough to finish her, even if just barely. The problem, in addition to figuring out what I should do, is that she jumps around. Like, a lot. Like, a lot. Like, oh my god, Lost Center, I'm going to get Miss Crabtree in here to tell you to sit down and preferably shut up. Now, the way I normally test if the poison strat works is to hit the boss with everything I have, then heal the fool to be out of danger, then simply inflict poison. However, that's just to see if it would work. Here, I only hit the boss with an RTSR, Great Magic Weapon, Rotten Pine Resin combo, then put on the wings and waited. Unfortunately, it's not, but with Whispers in the dance, just maybe. I wanted to try without the Trident first because that would make things way easier, but based on the damage I did before, it's going to be tough. With Whispers, I do... Why the fuck did that do so much damage? Can you counter hit things in Dark Souls? Is that still a mechanic? What? Wait, hold on, wait. Okay, if this changes things. Okay, Bright Bug, Great Magic Weapon, Dance Like No One's Watching, Whispers, Prophet? What? She might have just started an attack, but I don't know. Is the counter window this generous? Well, I guess we don't look a gift dead boss in the mouth. I grab the nearby fragrant branch of yore and light my first primal bonfire, then return to Majula to claim my bright bugs. Next, I free Strayed. I don't know if most of his inventory will be useful, but I can get Toxic Mist by turning in the Roya Rat Vanguard's soul. I still wasn't unconvinced that fire damage could be somewhat useful, so I grabbed the Dark Pyromancer Flame from the gutter and a few fire seeds from around the world. In the end, I was able to make my flame a +9. Technically, I could go all the way to 10 right now if I wanted to put Rosabeth in the ground, but I haven't gone completely hollow yet. So Toxic is just stronger poison, right? I was hopeful that 2 casts of Toxic Mist would be enough for Looking Last Night. It's still not even close. And since Toxic isn't an infusion, it's much more useless in terms of getting the damage plus proc strategy off the ground. Just for fun, I tried to Toxic the Rotten. You can, but yeah, obviously that's not going to work. Since everything I had tried up to this point seems impossible, maybe it's time to go in a different direction. Time for a fan favorite, Jabba the Hutt. That is not terrible damage. It's not enough to 2-shot, but just barely. You can Toxic this boss, but it took all of the casts for just 1 proc, and it's not enough damage anyway. I then tried with a magic scythe, and I didn't realize it while I was recording, but I think this is doable in 2 shots. I'm assuming I hit the sour spot of the weapon on the final swing. I really wish I had noticed this to save a bit of time, but I thought I would go farm the Mastodon Halberd to do more damage. After a handful of passes, I was already sick of that, so I went back and used the Magic Blight Knight's Halberd. Surprisingly, it worked. Covetous down in 2 hits. I make my way up the windmill, making sure to channel my inner Cave Johnson, which is especially applicable since Lemon is the one that issued this challenge, then prepare for Mytha. That's some good damage, enough to two-shot. Unfortunately, Mytha is immune to poison. Well, she heals from the poison in her arena. Wouldn't it be hilarious if we could heal her with poison too? I mean, immune or heals from it, it doesn't really matter. Both outcomes suck for me. I'll be honest, with a more optimized setup, she might be doable in one shot, but I decided to save my sanity for what's to come and two-shot her instead. And just so you know, this was absolutely the right decision. What's to come absolutely wrecked me. Gilligan has relocated to Majula, so I take the time to buy a bunch of resins from him that I probably won't end up using anyway, then enter Iron Keep. First, I buy everything from Mirror Rolled? Close enough. And now, I brace myself for Smelter. So this boss is the real reason I wanted to come this way. Since the Pursuer clones aren't considered a mini-boss in this run, if I can find a way to beat Smelter, then I can essentially get the Ring of Blades +1 for free. It ain't much, but maybe it'll help. My first attempt, that's not enough. But that is unsurprising because I tried it without a Bright Bug. With one, it's still not enough. I tried it with my poison setup and the results did look promising, but the problem was I did my damage with the Trident buff active. And from the looks of it, I'm going to need to do that twice to make it work. Except, that means I would need to cast in the boss fight, while in RTSR range, while he has a damaging aura on. And if that wasn't enough, I would have to somehow time it to line up with the butterfly wings. The gears are turning, slowly, but I'm piecing this puzzle together. For now, I think I'll just let it rest and see if I can figure something out. Fortunately for me, Smelter Demon is actually an optional boss. I never go this way, but it's completely possible to just go through the furnace in the center and skip him. I decided to also go through Belfry Soul, but this is mostly so I can have a bonfire when I inevitably die here. Immolation. Wouldn't it be funny if... Nah. Anyway, my next target is the Old Iron King, and honestly, I have almost zero faith that this is going to work. This is what too much Dark Souls 2 does to a man. Well, it's more damage than I thought it would be, but not enough to flat out two-shot. At this point, I was really tired of trying and failing on bosses, so I actually said screw it and went to farm the Mastodon Halberd. Took me a little over an hour, but I eventually got it. Do you think it'll help? No, absolutely not. Now, to be fair, it actually might have been enough. Maybe? Here I did a decent amount of damage to his arm on all 3 hits of my running attack, but I think they were all sour spots. I didn't notice this while filming, which is unfortunate. It also didn't help that I was still in the Covenant of Champions, so I fixed that, then tried again. I think I did less damage than before. What the hell, game? Maybe the answer is Heavenly Thunder. Okay, that's not it, never mind. I re-infused my halberd with Dark, and it was way more damage, but still not enough. Honestly, looking at the damage numbers now, this might have been doable with the poison setup. The problem is actually poisoning him. He resists it, at least according to the wiki, but the actual issue is being close enough to have the wings affect him. Not to mention if it ends up being necessary to use the Trident. I mean, there is a little more breathing room in this fight to do so compared to the Smelter, but that's still just not happening. I hate to say it, but I think this is a dead end too. I decided to grab one more Fire Seed and Chaos Storm from the Iron Keep. Obviously this won't help with Old Iron King, but I don't know, it's something. So I decided to go in a different direction. I was pretty sure Dark Lurker wasn't going to be doable either, but maybe if I could do enough damage to split him, then hit both the clones at the same time for double damage? Well, only one way to find out. I dive into Gandalf's Dark Hole 3 times, making sure to be as dry as possible to simulate what this run is doing to me. So here's a fun fact about Dark Lurker. Your buffs don't stay applied when you enter his arena. That means if I want to dance or bright bug up, it has to be done in the fight. Fortunately, there is enough time for most of the buffs when he casts the Dark Orb Seeker Missile of Death. Not sure about the dance though, but it doesn't really matter because, yeah, that ain't happening. That's fine, my expectations for this fight were basically 0 anyway. Climax would have been nice to have, but so would the Dragon Chime. Fortunately, I can still get that by killing Grandal. Why do you have so much health? You're a feeble old man. What? I mean, more optimized and with a Bright Bug, that's probably doable, but I ain't burning Bright Bugs on his ass. Then I remembered what happened earlier when I was in the Black Gulch. So I forced a Coal Tar off the ledge, then stood next to dear old Krampus while it did all the work for me. Dark Diver in 0 hits with a Dragon Chime to boot. I took it back to McDuff, maxed it out, and put lightning on it, and what better way to test its damage than on a boss that's in water? But first, a little something to help boost my damage. In Harvest Valley, I pledge myself to the Sun Bros for the Sun Seal. This ring will boost miracles by a little bit. Not sure if it'll help or be necessary, but it's something. Now it's off to Flexile Sentry. On my way there, I decided I would force push Carhelion into the water. Or not, okay then. Luckily, this old man isn't a tank, and it's easy enough to one-shot him. Alright, time for the main event. One thing that's nice about RTSR not boosting magic is that I don't have to be in one-shot range for it to work. I mean, I was here, but that's just in case I needed to switch to melee and I didn't want to have to set it up again. The damage looked promising, especially considering I didn't dance before this attempt. Now, I just need to get a little lucky. And after a few more tries, Flexile Sentry in one shot. This doesn't unlock anything worthwhile, but I mean, points are points, am I right? Since I was in the Lost Bastille anyway, I figured I might as well get another easy boss out of the way, the Gargoyles. I actually got scared thinking I would need to do my full setup to one-shot them, but I quickly learned that they just have an insane amount of damage reduction before they are fully in the fight. It took a couple of tries because skill issue, but with a pretty basic RTSR resin setup, I was able to one-shot all the Gargoyles as they entered the fight. That's another 2 points. Unfortunately, this is kind of the end of the road, huh? I mean, okay, I guess Executioner's Chariot is still alive, but without being able to get past Najka or Looking Glass Knight, that pretty much shuts down anything else I can do. Honestly, at this point, I was ready to pack it in, just start taking out the remaining NPCs and call it a day, you know? I felt like I had done enough. But something kept nagging at me, gnawing at the back of my head, like I missed something. So, on the verge of going hollow, I found myself back at Najka, trying in vain over and over to see if anything would work. I tried Heavenly Thunder, but it failed me time and time again. At some point, Najka was so comfortable with me, she let me ride her. Ride wife, life good. Set self on fire, don't kill wife. Hate Dark Souls 2. Yes, I even tried Immolation. Unfortunately, it seems to override a bright bug. I don't think that would have been helpful, but like, imagine if that was the solution. I tried Heavenly Thunder while up here, but it felt even less reliable with her right underneath me, but I don't know, something about this spell just, it called to me. Over and over, I cast it hoping to see some change, but no matter what I did, nothing happened. I guess it truly is a lost cause. Just to prove to myself that this isn't doable, I cheated in the Black Witch Domino Mask, the Blue Dagger, and the Lightning Clutch Ring. Combine that with the Bright Bug, the Sun Seal, and the Trident Dance, I believe that this is the maximum amount of damage increase I could give to Heavenly Thunder. So I run in, dance like I've never danced before, and call upon Zeus Almighty. But look, that just doesn't look like it would be enough. Oh well, why stop now? There's no way it's going to 2-hit. I did it. A 2-shot. I did it. I 2-shot her. Wait, no. That's with the Blue Dagger and the Lightning Clutch Ring. I can't get those. This is still impossible. Guys, I forgot to equip the Lightning Clutch Ring. Do you know what this means? Nothing, because the Blue Dagger is in Broom Tower, which is behind Old Iron King, and he's not doable either, right? Right? Oh, we are so back, baby! All we have to do is farm that stupid mask, but do you know where that mask comes from? This asshole! Do you know why that's a problem? This guy doesn't respawn, but that's fine. There's nothing in the rules about save scumming. That's right. Quit, reload, rusted coin, smash. Quit, reload, rusted coin, smash. Quit, reload, rusted coin! Black Witch Domino Mask. I had to reload a save because I actually killed that guy originally, which means I unalivened 5 targets. Dark Lurker, Gandalf, Carhelion, Flexile, and the Bell Gargoyles, but that's fine. Let's go! Let's go! Dark Lurker? Yeah, still not doable. Gandalf, dead. Carhelion, extra dead. Flexile Sentry? Why aren't you dead? I forgot the Sun Seal. Sun Bros, welcome me. Flexile Sentry? Giga dead. Gargoyles, bells, rung. And now it's time. Old Iron King, your ass is grass. All I need is one lucky attempt. I need to calm down. Okay, let's talk about why this strategy kind of sucks while I attempt to take him down. So, as far as I can tell, Heavenly Thunder can strike up to 4 times. As I stated way earlier, the attacks happen randomly in a circular area around the player. Since there's no way to control it, you're completely at the mercy of RNG for the bolts to land. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's like the Manus Lottery 2.0. Now, you'd think because the Old Iron King is such a massive target that it would be fairly easy to land the bolts, but surprisingly that's not the case. I don't know where or how the actual hit detection for these bolts takes place, but it doesn't seem to be the actual lightning bolt itself because I'm pretty sure I have watched as they pass through his body and just did nothing. My guess is that they happen on the ground where the bolts land, which if true means I suddenly have way less area to work with when attempting to hit this boss. With the explanation of why this sucks so hard, let me tell you the crazy harebrained strat I came up with. First, Bright Bug outside the door, then enter the arena. As he waddles towards you like the overgrown toddler he is, start dancing. 15 seconds on the clock. The best attack he can do is the double hand slam. The second best is when he slams a single hand down and keeps it there. It's possible to run to the back of the room to avoid that attack, while also letting you simply time a sprint back into his range. This saves a few precious seconds over having to dodge. Additionally, it should make him stretch his arm the furthest, hopefully giving you a wider chance to hit him. On this attempt, I actually almost quit out thinking I had only landed 3 hits, but notice at the last second, I got 4. At this point, I ran to the other side of the wall, and this would be a safe time to dance again, but I actually found out in testing you don't need all 8 hits to be boosted, only 1 boosted cast is necessary. If he does the double hand slam, try to stand at one elbow and aim for the other one for maximum potential hitbox collision. And just like that, Old Iron King, in the official run, falls. Oh, I'm getting fired up again. Emo Quailag, I'm coming for you. Also, you're going down. Also, I will defeat you. I quickly grab the Iron Key, then return to the Forest of Fallen Giants where I grab a heavier Iron Key, then use that to access the Broom Tower. That dagger is so close I can taste it. Oh, Dance of Fire. What's this? No time now. Gotta make progress. God, this room sucks. It sucks so bad that even at 99 in all stats, I decided to bow cheese it. Whatever, it's fine. All of this is worth it to watch that Scorpioness rot. Give me your dagger. I can see it. It's right there. Give it to me. No, not that one. Thankfully, this is a much easier farm than a Domino Mask, as there are multiple Fume Sorcerers close together in this area, and in no time at all, the blue dagger is mine. Finally, Najka, your time has come. My strat for this one was pretty simple. Bright Bug outside the fog wall, then sprint past her and Trident Dance. Then I just bury my face in her cheeks and wait. The attacks I wanted was either the Tail Slam or the Tail Swipe. Both make her hurt box pretty large, optimistically giving me more chances for Heavenly Thunder to hit. She usually does multiple tail attacks if you stay behind her, but this time she jumped away, meaning I needed to redance in the middle of the fight, and I barely got it off. Then she goes for the Tail Slam attack, and Najka falls in 2 hits. Ah, that feels good. I make my way through the doors of Pharaohs, thinking of nothing except how close I am to those sweet, sweet gauntlets. Only one, well, technically 3 targets stand in my way. First is the Congregation. Yeah, not hard. I didn't even Bright Bug or RTSR for this one. That's how easy it is. I actually thought about firebombing the basic hollows just as a little nod to Lemon, but honestly, I only saw red at this point and couldn't think of anything except Unga Bunga Smash. Congregation goes down in 1 hit. Now I need to double back to the Forest of Fallen Giants and talk to Pate, and by talk I mean smash him with my hammer! Yes, this was totally necessary. No, really. Even though I have access to both his and Kraten's locations to advance their questline, I'm pretty sure if they fight each other, the best possible outcome is that one solos the other. I get the key, and then upon reload to refill their health, the other one disappears. By doing it this way, I ensure I can get the gauntlets and my points. So I talk to Kraten and Huntsman Copse, then again in Shaded Woods, before meeting him in Brightstone Cove. He sees Pate's Ring of Thorn apparently in my pocket because I'm not wearing it, also, what pocket, and demands it. I hand it over, and as a thanks, he gives me the Seldora Den Key. To repay his kindness, I smush him. Thanks, Kraten. Also greed. Okay, so we need to talk about these gauntlets and why they're so important. I said it earlier, but again, they have a 5% chance to crit, dealing 1.5 times as much damage. I'm sure you can see why that would be helpful. At this point in the recording, I wasn't sure if it was on hit or on button press for when the crit was applied, but if it was on button press, that would drastically change the plausibility of some of the harder fights. But in the event that it was on hit, it would instead require an ungodly amount of luck. For example, Heavenly Thunder hits 4 times. If it's on press, that would mean it is a 5% chance for every bolt to do 1.5 times as much damage. But if it's on hit, that would mean that it is 5% per bolt, which would mean that the likelihood of getting all 4 crits is 0.000625%. Or maybe this is one of those weird math things where since they are independent calculations, it doesn't actually work like that. I don't know, I'm not a stats major. Point is, the likelihood of getting multiple crits in that scenario ain't high. Oh well, problem for future hollowed me, I suppose. Back on Racetrack, I decided to try the Chariot next. This boss should be an easy 2-shot. It doesn't have a lot of health, and I bet... Oh no, that's a problem. The act of pulling the lever, which is an A button press, caused the boss to take damage, so it counts as a hit. So now I effectively have to one-shot the boss. That sucks. I decided to try with my Bonk build because maybe he's weak to a hammer in the face. Nope, not really. I'm gonna have to come back to this one. In the meantime, I thought it was time to execute Order 66, Part 2. If you'll recall, I made Majula New Game Plus, which was done to get the butterfly armor, but the reason I was afraid to do that is I figured it would give the NPCs a bunch of health. Yep, that's what I thought. Fortunately, I can just make him mad at me, lead him to the pit, Then he can hit a plank on the way down as one final middle finger to me. I wasn't having that, so I loaded a save and walked him off a nearby cliff. Benhart over here also resisted the bonk, so I thought I would do the same cliff shenanigans, but he actually won't follow me all the way back to Majula. Fortunately, I decided to try again, but mostly fully buffed, and that was enough. Time to show Rosabeth the real meaning of rock hard. Because my demon's great hammer is made of stones, get your mind out of the gutter. Except not, because she has more health than most bosses. Why, Dark Souls 2? Fortunately, I can make her soaking wet and achieve victory that way. The Belfry Guard lives on like 1 HP. Now, I could Brightbug to compensate for that, or I could just throw him over the ledge. Man Scorpion Tark gets unceremoniously squashed. I show the body of Vengarl that he will never get ahead with such low defenses. Luca Teal decides to swim with the seals. Marigold, under the weight of my massive hammers, decides to fold. I make a quick stop at Comwell the partner, who gets to live for now, that way I can ask him for forgiveness and move Gavlin to his final position. Wow, 0 souls? What a steal! Anyway, I finally buy a full stack of Gavlin's items, then crush him. Okay, well he's one of those NPCs then, huh? That's not a problem, there's a cliff nearby. He won't follow me all the way to the cliff. Now that's a problem. Did moving him here make him unkillable in one hit? I didn't test, but in Harvest Valley, maybe he could be poisoned for an environmental no-hit. Am I really gonna burn a Brightbug for this guy? Nah, I force push him in the other direction so he slips off this ledge, then bait a nearby Mastodon to cut him down for me. I think that's enough NPC murder for now, but I wasn't quite ready to return to any of the bosses just yet, so how about some Mimic mini-bosses? First is this one in Brightstone Cove. Then there's this one here in Earthen Peak. I wanted to try and make him die from poison, but that would involve hitting him to wake him up, so I guess I'll just flat out smash him. Next is the sort of a pain to find one in the gutter. And last, the one in Dragonslayer Castle. Since I was here, I thought I would give Looking Last Night another whirl with Heavenly Thunder. Wow, that sucks. Okay, that's not happening. Not to mention he's such a small target that even if I did do enough damage, it would be a pain in the ass to land the shots. I tried with non-elemental infused hammers and it was not enough to outright two-shot him, but this is good information to have. Using a Poison Great Hammer, even while not in RTSR range, also did a lot of damage to him. And it takes just barely more than one cast of Poison Mist to proc it. Huh, if only there was a better way to optimize this. One thing that would help would be to have the Ring of Blades +1. That damage boost might just be what I need, so I pivot to Smelter. First, I wanted to try the Heavenly Thunder build, and it does 743 damage a bolt. Times that by 8, and we get 5,944, which is 26 points shy of Smelter's 5,970. You have to be kidding me. Regular bonks still aren't enough, and here is where I made an extra mistake and accidentally overwrote my save, burning a Brightbug, so that's awesome. Side note, I actually tried to give myself the Brightbug back to rectify that mistake, but every time I did and reloaded my save, it took it away from me. I can only think that the game tracks how many the player has, but that doesn't, like that's a lot of needless programming. Oh well, I'll just keep a mental note that if I do need one at some point, I have a Phantom one available, I guess. Anyway, I decided I wanted to give the Rot another shot because he blocks the Lightning Clutch Ring, and here is where I confirm my worst fears. The crit from the gauntlets is indeed on hit. That is most unfortunate. The good news is, even without a crit, as long as all 8 bolts land, the Rotten goes down in 2 hits. Fun fact, I actually did this twice because I died the first time, and that's just unacceptable, but overall the Rotten is probably the easiest boss to kill with this strategy. I make a quick stop to grab the Dragon Talon, then it's off to Shulva. Sin, I'm probably not coming for you in this run, let's be honest. Another thing that would definitely have helped now that I can get it is Flynn's Ring. Except, you know, it's worthless to me now because I have such high equip load, negating its effect. If you're wondering why I didn't plan for this, well, honestly, I just didn't think I'd get this far. I ended up getting a lucky Sanctum Soldier Gauntlet drop. Not sure if I'll use them, but it's nice to know I don't have to farm for them if I want to. Eventually, after much running around, I can finally claim my prize, the Lightning Clutch Ring. I decided to have a quick go at the Roya Rat Authority. My first attempt was with Heavenly Thunder, and it showed me that it is mathematically possible, but to take out RNG, I wanted to try with melee builds. And I started getting weird damage numbers. Like, it looked like he took less damage while he was attacking. The opposite of a counter hit. A counter hit, I don't know. Either way, I didn't really feel like playing with him anymore, especially considering that there are other things I could do to become stronger first to offset this weird interaction. So, back to Smelter it is. With the Lightning Clutch Ring, I now do 791 damage a hit, which would mean he is mathematically possible. But needing to hit such a small target, relatively speaking, 8 times within RNG attack like this, was I really ready to just dedicate that much time to him? Well, I did try for a while, but I think the most I was ever able to land was 3 hits in 1 attack, which I mean, listen, math ain't my strong suit, but I'm pretty sure 6 is less than 8. After about 30 minutes of trying, I decided to just pack it in and head over to Brightstone Cove. Now, I didn't have super high hopes for Freja either. I have a hunch that her only hurt box is on her heads, and that would be an insanely small target. But maybe the game is programmed in such a way that the lightning bolts can somehow reach an inner hurt box? Maybe? I mean, after all, it is held together with spit and duct tape. Unfortunately, my worries were confirmed when I buried myself in her side and missed every single attack. I decided to try again, but with melee, and to my astonishment, I can deal a large amount of damage to her, you know, assuming I actually hit her. With my Demon's Great Hammer setup, it's even more. I think this might be enough to two-shot. Except there's a problem because this is Dark Souls 2 and I can't have nice things. You probably know this, but if you do enough damage to one of Freja's heads, it'll come off. Well, wouldn't you know it, but it takes 3 hits with my hammers to do that. 3 hits, Doom? That's more than 2. That's not a problem. Haha, well, you may or may not have noticed, but the game counts the 2 hammers separately. When swinging, sometimes they hit at the same time, resulting in 1 large damage number. Other times, it's 2 smaller numbers like 1 frame apart. What that means is that I can easily run behind her to land the first swing, 2 hits, but then when I swing again, 1 hammer will hit her and cause her head to pop off, and the other hammer will hit her body, doing no damage. The obvious solution is to just hit one head, then run to the other and hit that, and yeah, you're right. But the problem is needing to buff with the trident outside the arena and then make it to both heads in time. I did wonder if the hammers hit at the same time if that would override the head popping off, but that's either not possible or I was never lucky enough to have it happen on the second swing. Either way, I knew this was doable, so I got to grinding. Over and over, I threw myself at this boss until finally, I got the run. The strategy is pretty simple, it's just run behind her and then wait until she would move her head forward to attack. I found that this is the most consistent way to hit her, and it saves time from having to wait for the full animation to finish. Then just run to the other side and hope that there's no spiders in the way and just go for it. I actually did get hit by one of the mini spiders, but we live in. Duke Seldora is considered a mini-boss on this run, and I didn't expect him to be a problem, but since my Bright Broken buffs were still on, I sprinted over and smashed him into the ground. Oh hi Aldia, your days are numbered. I don't know how big that number is, but it's definitely a number. Back in Majula, I stock up on Bright Bugs, then decide I would try out the Chariot again as I felt like I had grown enough at this point. I had this awesome idea of laying 2 mines for him to ride over. Pyromancy really does suck in this run. I went ahead and tried Chaos Storm 2, hoping that he would maybe get hit by multiple pillars as he had to ride through it. Honestly, I don't even think getting hit by multiple pillars is a thing in this game. I also tried after derailing him, but it wasn't enough. I was able to do over half his health, but I think that's including the damage from hitting the gate, and even if it wasn't, I still need to do all of his health to make it a legitimate kill. I switched back to Heavenly Thunder, which showed more promise. And by showed more promise, I mean if all 4 pillars land, in addition to his health reduction by smashing through the gate, it is enough. But I was curious to know something. Now, it's pretty well known that if you lower his health enough, he will grab the ledge. But then could you just use something like Force to push him off and that does the rest of the damage? Well, unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case. However, he now has so little health, I'm pretty sure I can just finish him off with a regular melee attack. Did this future bottle of glue actually live on 1 HP? Really? Really? Well, no actually, I did do more damage than the health he had remaining, but it's scripted to make him always take 1 damage from falling, which is unfortunately 3 hits. Okay, but what if we were able to completely deplete his health bar before he got there? Maybe there would be some kind of super special death animation. Worth a shot, so okay Elmers, it's time to throw hands. 5 bolts. 5 bolts are what it would take for my current setup to fully deplete his health, or 4 with a couple crits. Honestly, I'm still not convinced that this thing can hit more than 4 times in one cast, but even if it could, the Chariot 100% moves too quickly to get hit by all of them. So the full one-shot is off the table. However, after some testing, I was able to find that if I landed 2 bolts on his first pass, he wouldn't be low enough to fall, then 3 bolts on his second would fully deplete his health bar. I ended up trying to time my cast to where he would be really close on the first pass to minimize the amount of time he was in danger, then farther away on the second pass to maximize it. Eventually, I got it. But as I kinda suspected and dreaded, nothing happens. He just grabs the ledge and waits. I did wonder if I could wait like 30 minutes for him to, I don't know, lose his strength and fall, but even if that is the case, he still takes 1 fall damage, so 3 hits. I guess, kinda. Honestly, this is some kind of weird technical ruling Lemon will have to take over for. I ended up just reloading a save, letting him smash through the gate, then getting lucky with all 4 lightning strikes to bring him down in 2 shots the official way. I buy everything Tichy has for sale, which honestly isn't a lot, nor is it helpful. Probably. Then return to Shulva. This time I'm looking for the Sanctum Mace. I was able to pick one up here for free, but then had to farm for a second. Honestly, it wasn't a terrible farm, probably about 10 minutes. The reason I did this is at this point I actually read what the Rat Ring and Sanctum Gauntlets do, and thought the extra poison damage from a poison-infused dual Sanctum Mace would do comparable damage to my Demon's Great Hammer setup, while also having the bonus of inflicting poison. Yeah, I was fucking wrong, like it's not even close either. But I had finally accepted that if I wanted Smelter dead, I was going to need to work for it. The only way I could find to make this work was if I poisoned him on both hits while still doing a lot of damage initially. I did have the damage part, it was the poisoning him part that worried me. With another test, I can see that Poison Mist was able to proc in one cast. At first, I thought that was great news, but it's actually horrible. See, my setup in the inn ended up being a Dark Demon Great Hammer in the left with backup Hyroflame, and in the right, the Sanctum Mace, Trident to Dance, and Sunset Staff for Whispers. The plan was to buff up before walking in, cast Whispers of Despair, dodge his first attack, then cast Poison Mist and switch to my weapons and land a blow that would proc poison. The problem I was running into was that this setup was too slow. The poison would go off just mere frames before I was able to land the attack. Of course, there's no way to increase his resistance to slow it down, but I thought, what if I used a clear bluestone ring to speed up my cast? Unfortunately, that's still barely not enough. If only I didn't need to switch from Pyroflame back to my hammer, that should save off just enough time to get the first hit off. Then I remembered, Dark Fog. Dark Fog can be cast from the Sunset Staff, which I already had out because I needed to cast Whispers of Despair anyway, meaning my left hand only needed to have the hammer in it. And that was it. Finally, everything clicked and it just fell into place. But that's only the conceptual side. Now was time to put it all together, so here's what I did. Brightbug first, then dance outside the room. Once that's done, switch to the Sunset Staff and walk into the arena. Cast Whispers of Despair immediately while locking onto the boss to make sure you don't miss. Before the cast is finished, switch to Dark Fog, and the millisecond the cast leaves your staff, unlock the camera and look straight down, casting Dark Fog as soon as you're able to. With a little luck, the Smelter Demon will rush you and step into it. Obviously dodge his attack, and during the roll, queue up changing weapons to the Sanctum Mace. Then power stance and smash him with both hammers. If done quickly enough, the hit will proc poison. He should almost immediately go into phase 2, but the poison is still active, so there's nothing to do except prepare for the next attack, so switch back to the Sunset Staff and wait. Once his health goes even lower, he should buff his sword, and at this point the poison should have worn off, so cast it at the floor about the same distance away from when the fight started. With some more luck, he will rush you once again, stepping into it. Dodge his attack, switch weapons, and smash again. If done successfully, now the only objective is to survive. For anyone crazy enough to try this at home, my rings were RTSR, Rat Ring, the Ring of Blades, and the Clear Bluestone Ring. Also, a couple of additional points, when he buffs, there is just enough time to dance again, but as I just showed, it's not necessary. Secondly, yes, I could have used a butterfly suit to set up poison, but the issue with that comes down to making sure I'm still buffed up enough because one of the two smashes needs to have the Trident buff for this to work. Also, yes, I was worried about the poison proc not coming from the actual smash, like maybe when I hit him it went to 99 out of 100 and then the Dark Fog did the final tick to proc it. So I asked Lemon and he said as long as the numbers didn't show up before the hit takes place, it's probably fine, I can just be paranoid about it. Anyway, since the Pursuer clones aren't targets, they don't need to be one-shot, which is good because this one has like 6,000 health for some stupid reason. Why? Just why though? Well, whatever. Friendship ended with a Ring of Blades, new friendship with a Ring of Blades +1 has begun. I decided to ride that high and try my hand at the Looking Glass Knight. I was able to optimize just a bit more damage by casting Resonant Blade on my left-hand weapon, then menuing to replace it with the Trident. But aside from that, pretty much everything else was the same. You buff up, walk in while rotating the camera to face the fog door, and sprint right at the boss. He will always jump over you, as long as you're sprinting in a straight line, you'll probably clear him. Then just cast Dark Fog. Fortunately, Looking Glass Knight's resistance is just barely high enough that one cast doesn't proc it, meaning there is no doubt in my mind that the proc came from hitting him and not the gas cloud. At this point, I just needed to wait for the poison to fall off and for him to try and summon help. Again, this would be a time to rebuff with the Trident, but it's actually not necessary. The hard part is making sure to time it where Dark Fog ends right as he's done summoning the invader and standing up, then timing your hit to get full damage on him instead of the reduced amount he would take while summoning. Setup was the exact same as Smelter, except for the initial Resonant Blade and Ring of Blades +1 instead of the base form. And just like that, Looking Glass Knight falls. I buy my celebratory bright bugs from Malentia, then start making my way through the Shrine of Amana. Honestly, not that hard since I have a ranged weapon. Nothing really happens, I just casually make my way to the Demon of Song. Now, this boss I was worried about for the same reason I was Freja. I really wanted to believe that the bolts could damage him through his, shields. But of course, that's not the case. Fortunately, this boss is standing in water, making him take extra damage. Fun fact though, I do a quit out to reload my save and I forgot what I was doing and copied and pasted the wrong file in. Meaning I loaded my save from after Looking Glass Knight, so I had to redo Amana. Why is that a fun fact? Well, it's not, I've just lost my frickin' mind. Well, whatever, again, thanks to bows it's not so bad, so on to the Demon of Song proper. This boss doesn't engage immediately, so it's possible to run in and buff with the Trident, which helps with making the time limit easier to work with. Like I just said, I can't hurt him when he pulls his disgusting skin flaps over his head. He does this after every attack, so I need to time my Heavenly Thunder cast to where they start basically right after he opens up his face, as the length of the cast is about as long as him being vulnerable in most cases. Initially, I decided to just cast the second he opens up, hoping he would go for the hand slam. Even if I took damage, it would mean he's also getting hit. After some trial and error, I learned that if I stay near him during that attack, he will actually extend it into a couple more sweeps. This is something I've never seen before, and they have plenty of time to get a cast off, and his arms are outstretched, widening his hitbox. Funnily enough, I actually hardly got any damage out of doing that, but then he does the huge slam and I just blasted through his health, so I guess I should have been baiting that attack, but oh well, Demon of Song down in 2 hits. Honestly, it might have been doable in 1 with good luck and a Bright Bug, but that's fine. I really didn't want to burn Bright Bugs unless I absolutely had to. Aldia, nice to see you again. Can you hear the sarcasm in my voice? I sure hope so. Agdane, I'm so glad you enjoy hanging out in this crypt. Why? No reason. I always just sprint through this area, but since I need to buff outside the fog, I can't do that. I actually learned that there are some hollows under the stairs that ring a bell to summon the specters. That makes things way easier instead of having to deal with them constantly. Alright, time to talk about the next wall, Velstadt. So initially, it didn't seem like he would be a huge problem. For example, Heavenly Thunder deals 961 damage a hit, times 8, that is 7,688, which is more than his 6,290. Of course, I would need to actually hit him, and he's kind of a skinny target. But that's not the main issue. No, the main issue is that when he goes into phase 2, he essentially takes half damage. So my damage total isn't actually 7,688, it's 5,766, which isn't enough. Now, in theory, if I cast both Heavenly Thunders immediately, there might be a chance that all 8 bolts hit. But that would involve landing all 8 hits, and also assuming that there isn't some kind of code that would stop the 2 sets of 4 bolts interacting with each other. On the upside, Velstadt is similar to Looking Glass Knight, where one cast of Dark Fog is just barely not enough to proc poison, meaning it sets him up nicely for that strategy. The problem is that thanks to his defensive buff, I just don't do enough damage to him with my initial hit for it to even matter. I can use the time that he buffs to reapply the Trident Dance for extra damage, but even if I do that, he still lives on about 10%. Put simply, this build just can't do it. I did do a conceptual test to see if he's doable without his buff, as in if I was able to somehow keep him in phase 1 long enough to get off 2 hits, both proccing poison. And the good news is, yes, that's 100% doable. The bad news is, how the hell do I keep him in phase 1 long enough to do that, and reapply the Trident buff without him killing me? The answer is, I don't. So after like an hour of trying this, I decided to rethink my approach. First, I did some research to see if I could buff my weapon better, and after checking, I realized I could get a copy of Sunlight Blade and Shrine of Amana. Now, I don't know if this is better than Gold Pine Resin, but I mean, worth a shot. And the answer is, I still don't know if it's better or not. Even if it was, it wouldn't be enough to compensate for doing half damage to him in phase 2, so I guess it really doesn't matter. But then I realized, why am I even using the Demon's Great Hammers? I mean, the answer is because I've been able to up until this point, but perhaps there are better options. And yeah, the Demon's Great Hammer is not the strongest hammer in the game. According to a Reddit post, the highest physical AR with a hammer is the Giant Warrior Club. Keep in mind, I'm specifically looking at hammers as they deal strike damage, which Velstadt is weak to. But I can't get that yet as I would need to access the Giant's memories. However, the Smelter Hammer is the second highest and I can totally access one of those. So I head back to the Broom Tower and farm this towering, terrifying inferno until one drops. Now, I did a few tests, and what I found out was that a lightning-infused Sunlight Blade buffed Smelter Hammer did the most damage out of any infusion/resin combination I could do. So that's my current go-to left-handed weapon. Right hand is obviously the Sanctum Mace for the required poison proc. I also tried to use a Rotten Pine Resin coated one to proc poison, but the damage was so low that it wouldn't have helped even if I could. Honestly, if I could find a way around his stupid buffing for phase 2, this would be way easier. If only he would just stay still and wait for me to buff up and hit him. But he would never come to this profound realization, would he? Wait a minute. Profound still would never work in any of the other games, but Dark Souls 2 is weird like that. Maybe, just maybe, this will stop him from being able to buff. So I set out to try it. A normal hit right now does 1,260. Okay, so if I can get that again, it means it works. He takes a knee, I cast Profound still, I wait just a second because I don't know if he takes reduced damage in this phase transition. And oh my god, it worked! Is what I would like to say, but that was a crit. The worst time to get a crit ever. My heart exploded and then reformed and imploded out of the roller coaster of emotions I went through with that attempt. So, Profound still failed me. Well, to be fair, I think it actually does stop him from casting his projectile attacks, as I never saw him do that while it was active, but that might have just been luck, and either way, it's not like it really matters for what I'm trying to do. But there was one good thing to have come out of this, and that was me remembering that I still have the ability to crit. 5% of the time, sure, but that's better than 0. So I got to grinding. The setup is honestly pretty easy and consistent. Brightbug outside the door, followed by the Trident Dance. Upon entering, lock on and cast Whispers of Despair, and then sprint at him because you're on the clock. Dodge his attack and cast Dark Fog, then swap weapons and smash him. When he buffs, reapply the dance and do it again. That's it. And eventually, after however many attempts, I land a crit. All I have to do now is wait. No. You're telling me that even with a crit, this isn't doable? Do I actually need to crit twice? Well, no, actually. See, I'm just a complete idiot. I hadn't thought about it up until now, but because the crit is multiplicative, the higher the base number, the more damage it will do. Here, for example, some quick napkin math. I do 1000 damage base in phase 1 and 500 in phase 2. If the crit is applied to phase 2, that means the total is 1750 damage. But if it's in phase 1, it's 2000. Therefore, I don't need to crit twice, I just need to crit once in phase 1. Ideally, the crit would come from my Smelter Hammer as it has higher base damage than the Sanctum Mace, but hopefully that isn't required. After a few more attempts, it happened. I actually do think the crit came from the Sanctum Mace, so all I have to do now is hope that it was enough. He buffs, I buff back. Dark Fog, smash. Survive, and hope. That's Velstadt in 2 hits. Hello, Vendrick. Yeah, that's probably not happening. I grab my well-deserved King's Ring, then immediately go back to Shred, who sells me Sacred Oath, which buffs physical AR. This would have been so helpful before Velstadt game, but whatever, it's fine, I have it now. I next make my way over to Aldia's Keep and explore it for the first time in... ever, honestly. I usually just run past this place. Now I know why I don't explore here. I should probably move. Okay, I deserve that. Oh, a Brightbug, nice! Okay, so the reason I wanted to explore this place is because there's actually 8 targets here. The boss, Navlan, and 6 mimics. But I only know where 2 of those things are. Yes, I somehow never noticed the active mimics in the cages in the main hall. So first I get into RTSR range, and then Sunlight Blade plus Whispers of Despair smash the 3 mimics in the side room. Easy enough because they're sleeping. Next I head outside and do the same to the other one out there. Now comes the tricky part. See, the 2 remaining mimics are suspended in cages in the main hall. I didn't test this, but it might be possible to use an arrow or some projectile to blast their specific cages down. However, my worry was that if I did that, then they might take fall damage, meaning I'm only ever able to 2-hit them. Further, depending on how they spawn in on reload, they might spawn in mid-air, meaning they just always take fall damage. In hindsight, I could have easily tested this by save stating, but where's the fun in that? So I throw the lever and prepare to hate myself. The first mimic is right outside my door. A quick Whispers of Despair followed by my hammers takes care of it. Unfortunately, the Bell Gargoyle in the room takes me out. The good news though is that I can just get into RTSR range and then camp in this room with a bow. After everything is cleared out, it's pretty easy to smash the other mimic. Alright, time to try Guardian Dragon. First, I thought I would go in with my big bonk lightning build. That's a lot less than I thought it would be. Aren't dragons weak to lightning? I mean, that was like a central plot point in Dark Souls 1, right? To be fair, I didn't Brightbug here, but that's because his health appears to be so low I didn't think I would need it. I tried again without lightning and it's about the same. Definitely not a lot and not enough. Heavenly Thunder though, well, there we go. That's more than half its health and damage. I guess I know what I'm doing. So clearly it's possible, but actually landing the hits is proving to be a bit of a pain in the ass. I mean, the Guardian Dragon isn't a small target, but he does like to jump around. Sure, the first one is free, but after that if he takes off, good luck. Speaking of good, or maybe really bad luck, want to see something that sucks? On one attempt, I managed to land not 1, not 2, but 3 critical hits across my 2 casts, but I actually missed enough Thunderbolts that it didn't kill him. I hate this game, genuinely I do. Being able to use a Brightbug would have helped make this a lot less painful, but do I really want to do that? Well, surprise once again, I'm just a moron because Navlan, who is just a short jog away, is able to give me something that is the equivalent of a Brightbug, at least for spells. If you complete his quest, he awards you with Unleash Magic, which boosts sorceries, pyromancies, miracles, and hexes by 20%. It's essentially an infinite supply Brightbug if my target strategy involves Heavenly Thunder. Unfortunately, it doesn't stack, so that sucks, but whatever, I'll take it. In my winning attempt, I actually managed to get another 2 crits in one cast, resulting in me only needing a total of 6 bolts to bring him down. Hey, where's the Emerald Herald? Oh, right. Aldia shows up to taunt me one final time before I happily take out these Night Warrior guys. Honestly, these guys are deserving of the mini-boss status. Thankfully they respawn, so I don't have to worry about it. I grab Crystal Magic Weapon. I don't know if it'll be useful, but hey, best magic spell in the game for free, so why not? Ancient Dragon. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Just for fun, I decided to see what kind of damage I could do. Heavenly Thunder right under it? Nope. Big meaty drumstick hits? It took 2 just to wake the dragon up, let alone put him in the ground. Yeah, no way. Fortunately for me, this boss is optional and just talking to it awards the Ashen Mist heart. With that, I'm able to access the memory of the giant, so back to the forest to take on Last Giant 2.0. Or would it be 1.0 and the original is 2.0 since this is the past? I don't know. I got really close on my first attempt, literally hit 7 out of the 8 needed Thunderbolts, and that sucks because I spent the next 2 hours trying to get it to happen again. At some point, I got tired of being RNGesus' bitch and thought I would try other builds. One thing I didn't realize is that casting Sacred Oath apparently cancels a Bright Bug, but not the other way around, so here I am trying a bonk strat with 20% less damage. To be fair, I don't think that would have made a difference with a crit, but you know, I'm stupid. I tried Forbidden Sun with every fire damage increasing item I had. Not even close. That's just so disappointing. Same with Chaos Storm. These pyromancies really have fallen from grace. At this point, I was losing my mind, so I tried a few other things like Solapies, Dead Again, and Scraps of Life. Yes, I'm aware the first 2 shouldn't have done anything, but hey, when you're in Dark Souls 2 for as many hours as I am at this point, you'll grasp at any straw you can find. I knew it should have been possible with a poison setup, I just really didn't want to deal with doing that again. Not that it should be hard, I mean, I think I can just run away from the boss and rebuff in the same corner. One thing I wish I would have tried was baiting the boss into the fireballs. It would have been hilarious if that worked. Funnily enough, I actually told myself that this was my last attempt with the Heavenly Thunder strat because I was tired of the RNG gamble, and as if the game heard me, it was the attempt that took him down. I am so close to the end. So close. I head back to Drangleic Castle and descend into the Throne of Want. Now, Watcher and Defender actually have very little health, probably to compensate for the fact that there are 2 of them, which did not transfer over to Dark Souls 2 too, but I digress. In fact, the Watcher has so little health, it's possible to 2-shot them with only Sacred Oath and Sunlight Blade because I still didn't know about the buff order thing. Which means I don't have to worry as much about dying in hyper mode, and after that, it's pretty easy to cast Whispers of Despair on Defender, then do the Dark Fog to smash strat. By itself, that's not enough to one-shot, but he has so little left over that I can just take him out with a follow-up attack, 2-shotting this... oh no... I'm going to need to consult Lemon for this one. In the meantime, I decide to go on NPC murder spree number 3. First up is Falcon, and of course he survives with a sliver of health. What else would I expect in this game? I decided that instead of bothering with buffs and whatnot, how about I just upset him and lure him into this chasm? Oh, there's an invisible wall there. Because of course there is. Okay, what about this cliff instead? Bye Falcon, have a nice fall. Next up is Agdane. Don't tell me what to do. So at first I thought I would just push him off the nearby ledge, but Agdane is scared of hallways, apparently. Okay, I don't want him and his squad mad at me, so I head back to calm with a partner to forgive my... So I get into RTSR range and hit Agdane to... Why? Why do these NPCs have so much health? I tried Shockwave hoping it would be better force, but it's kind of just worse force. I mean, I can hit things from range with it, but it only has 6 casts, so for my purposes, it kind of sucks. Anyway, with some encouragement, I can help Agdane overcome his fear of halls and send him into the abyss below. Next up is the head of Vanguard. First, I buy everything he has, then attempt to crash test dummy his helmet. It passes. I thought maybe he would get up and follow me somehow, or I don't know, roll on the ground, but no matter how many times he's hit, he doesn't do anything. So pushing him over a ledge is out of the question. Next, I lured an enemy over. Now, this should work, but this enemy only has a dagger and a crossbow, meaning he's extremely unlikely to hit Vanguard. I did the poison setup, and this got really close. He wasn't under Whispers of Despair here because it's so hard to hit him that I just kind of gave up trying. A Bright Bug or crit would also take care of this problem, but honestly at this point, I felt like I was just doing a weird victory lap, so I decided screw it, Vanguard in 2 hits. Gilligan apparently has some crazy blunt defenses, Jesus. But he never learned how to swim, so that's easy. At this point, Melentia has served her purpose and takes a good smashing. I was a little worried about killing the Rat King because I thought maybe the Crest of the Rat stops working if I do, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Alright, this is just getting ridiculous. Fortunately, he is in a sweet spot where applying resin to my right hand is enough. Titchy, however, was not. That's fine, there's a hole nearby in the Chariot's room, I just need to lead him down the stairs. And he doesn't want to follow me. That's okay, I can force him to. And with the use of things like amber herbs, I can easily push him into the hallway and out the door to... I hate this game. Well, I guess I'll just have to settle for 2 hits. No shame in it, really. Why did that one one-shot him? Why? Did I crit or something? Like, why this time and not the first time, game? Next up is Navlan. Now, I was really hoping I would be able to hit him through his barrier, but unfortunately that isn't the case. I can't even poison him through it. So I pulled the lever and tried to smack him, but big surprise, Dark Souls 2, and he has enough health to live it. That's fine. Whatever. My new plan was to see if the Mirror Bros could hurt him, and thankfully they can. The problem is Navlan does way more damage to them than they do to him. Thankfully, I still have Profound Still, which makes him basically useless. It only has 3 casts, so I really needed the Mirror Knights to work with me. But with the use of a Great Shield and some good positioning, he goes down in 0 hits. Next, I dive back into the Memory of a Giant and talk with Captain Drummond. Of course he has the Giga Health. But wouldn't you know it, there's an enemy nearby. A giant! How poetic. Or ironic, or lore accurate, I don't know. This is actually a little trickier because Drummond wants to return to the first room and the giant doesn't want to go near it. But I can just use force to push him into the giant, who does surprisingly little damage to him, but eventually he too falls in 0 hits. I make sure while I'm here to finally pick up the Giant Warrior Club, then grab the soul of a giant from this and the other memory. I am going to try Vendrick eventually, but honestly since one of the giant souls is with the Ancient Dragon, I can kinda guess how that's going to go. Anyway, I go ahead and donate a couple drumsticks to Cromwell. Surely that's the equivalent of like the billion souls he wanted. Then I free Ornifex for later. While I was in the Shaded Woods, I thought I'd take down another mini-boss, which is this Golden Lion. Honestly, thought he'd be stronger than that. Then I return to the gutter and channel my inner Dale Gribble. And with that, I think it's finally time to take on the DLC. I'm going to start with the Ivory King, as taking down Ava would open several additional targets up and an item that probably won't be useful. Now, it's no secret that the DLC in this, or any Souls game, is always a step above the base game. The bosses here have such insane health pools and damage resistances that I don't think any of them are going to be possible. The only exception would be the Gank Squad because they have relatively low health and there is water in the arena, so probably some lightning shenanigans to be had. But I will not know without trying, so I grab the Eye of the Priestess and challenge the big cat. Yep, that's exactly what I expected. What about Old Faithful, Heavenly Thunder? Wow, like I knew it wouldn't work, but that's like nothing. As unfortunate as it is, without taking Ava down, that means I can't kill the Ivory King or Alsana the Silent Oracle. Additionally, since I can't access her, that means the 2 frozen mimics are off the table, nor can I access the key to the frigid outskirts. I figured I would try the Fire DLC next, not for any real reason, just because I needed to warm up after that frigid encounter. I make my way through the tower pretty normally, making sure to insert my hot rod into this hole, then grab the tower key and descend into the ash-riddled depths. Fiume Knight! Wow, color me surprised! And Heavenly Thunder also barely tickles him. You know, with crits and poison, he might be doable. Except he can't be poisoned, so yeah, that's nice. Right, well, Fiume Knight is a no-go, so I slowly make my way through the Iron Passage. This is a lot easier with a bow, I tell you what, I'm bringing range on every run from now on. So, for Blue Smelter, my initial thought was to try the exact same strat as I did for the base form. The problem is that, while the setup works for the most part, he just has too much health. With the damage I'm doing, I think it would take 2 crits, which, isn't great. But, that being said, there is an additional issue in that casting Whispers or Dark Fog, followed by dodging and attacking, is enough to fully deplete my stamina bar. So that's a problem for 2 reasons. One is that losing all my stamina while attacking deals less damage, and 2, I can't dodge out of the way of his attacks without stamina, so if he went for a quick follow-up, I was just kinda dead. I don't know how to feel about Blue Smelter. I think with enough head bashing this wall could fall, but I guess to be fair, if you crit on everything, probably every wall would fall, but that's not the point. For me, Blue Smelter gets to live. I hope some other runner gets this far and has a much better build because I would love to see him go down. And without the crown from behind Fiume Knight, I can't even access Sir Alon, so that's 2 DLCs and 0 kills. Last up, Crown of the Sunken King. Now, like I said, I did have high hopes for the trio here, but before going there, I wanted to try Alana as she blocks another target. Wow, a fourth of her health, huh? Who would have guessed? So apparently she's very weak to magic, so I thought, what the heck, let's do some infusions and crystal magic weapon. Okay, well, that's good, but clearly not enough, and she's immune to poison, so it's not like that would help here. Oh well, hard to be disappointed when my expectations were already 0. Now though, it's time for the Gank Squad. So 2 things. 1, yes, easy parry riposte one-shot. 2, you can take damage while riposting something. That fucking sucks. At some point I tried Heavenly Thunder hoping that it would do crazy massive damage, or at the very least it would 2-shot, but no. Looks like I just have to get lucky with not having multiple NPCs on me at once, because that'll cost some extra. I was able to come up with a semi-consistent strat where I would drop into the water and then wait just a second before running forward, and this would cause Varg to come close to me past the land bridge, but the Grave Robber would stop and try and drop off before it, separating them momentarily. Ironically, that didn't work on this attempt, but instead the game decided to just be merciful for once. When I started this attempt, I was out of RTSR range to see if it was possible to one-shot Varg, as I assume he has the most health and defenses. He didn't attack me, but Grave Robber put me into RTSR range. I parried him while getting shot, somehow had iframes while standing up, riposted the Grave Robber, Varg didn't hit me, I riposted him and got him in one shot too. I then healed because I'm terrible at parrying, and it's good I did because wow, look, I got hit, but then I was lucky and landed it, allowing me to one-shot each enemy. 3 DLCs down, 1 kill. Not terrible. I mean, okay, it's a 1 out of 9 bosses, but I'll take it. Back in the base game, I have a couple more boss loose ends to tie up, so first is the Roya Rat Authority. I decided on Heavenly Thunder mostly because Unleash Magic allows me to be in hyper mode without also being in almost dead mode. And with a bit of practice, the short bow can take out all 4 of the mini dog rat things before the main boss even shows up, then it's just a matter of getting under it and casting. Now I wanted to try something else. I had wondered if Dark Liquor would be doable if there was enough damage on the first hit to cause them to split, then land a hit on both halves at the same time for double damage. In theory, meaning I would only need to do at least a third, but in reality I need to do enough damage to cause a split, which apparently happens between 50 and 60% health remaining. Point is, it's a little less than half, which is a little bit of leeway. The problem is I already killed Dark Diver, but his gravestone is in each area, so maybe if I summon him I can rejoin the Covenant and can attempt the fight. So I do just that, fight my way through the chasm and then drop into the Dark Lurker's arena. Wow, he redecorated. Okay, maybe I have to start from the bottom again, so I fight through all 3 chasms and... nothing. I wonder if I didn't initially light the braziers, if I did it now then it would work, but they're already lit so I can't just undo that. I even tried to make Shade of Woods New Game Plus, hoping it would revive him and maybe that would do it, but no dice. Ah well, one less wall for me to smash my head against. Next target is Vendrick. Now I am 99.99% sure he's not doable without all 5 souls of the giant. Hell, I'm pretty sure that even with them he isn't doable, but regardless, the issue is that one of those souls is held by the Ancient Dragon, or in other words, completely unobtainable. But I had a brilliant plan. Bonfire Aesthetic the Forest, then go into a different memory and pick another one up. I decided on the memory of Vamir because it also has the Giant Warriors Club. My heart sank a little when I saw Drummond's gravestone, but then I noticed that the giant hadn't smashed through the wall, meaning that this was in fact New Game Plus. I was even more excited when I was able to get another club, not just for the extra damage, but also because I wanted to believe so bad that a giant soul rested above. But alas, the game taketh, and then taketh some more. So here I am trying Vendrick without all the souls. Right, well, it's time for another NPC murder spree. First, I bought everything I thought might be useful from Strayed, and then smashed him. Yeah, well, that tracks. Fortunately, there is a hole nearby. Are you fucking serious? He lived? So it turns out there is a piece of stone that divides this hole, and he hit it on the way down. I tried again and attempted to make him slip off the right side to avoid it, and this time, thankfully, he missed. Over in Brightstone, I check what Ornifex has and proceed to smash her too. Okay game, this is just getting annoying. Fortunately, there is a massive sinkhole right out in front of her house, just gotta shove her out the door. Of course she can't leave her room. Of course, just of course. Honestly, at this point, I was tired. Dark Souls 2 had worn me down, and I knew that the end was near, so I wanted to just rush through everything and be done with it. So I went ahead and just hit her twice. But after a little bit of thinking and soul hardening, I reloaded the save and brought some spiders into the room and let them take care of her instead. She actually killed one of the 2 I was using while she was like 1 hit away from death, and I would have been very not happy had she managed to live. But in the end, Spinarak beats Pidgey or something like that. I don't know, I've lost my mind at this point. I'll say. Okay, so this is kind of a weird one. There are 4 Malfinito and all 4 are targets, obviously. However, one is locked behind a door that doesn't open unless you save the others, and the act of saving them removes them from the game, rendering them unkillable. Initially, I had resigned to only being able to kill 3 at most, but then I decided to test something. What if I did a little bit of New Game Plus trickery? The rule around using bonfire aesthetics is that they are allowed, but any targets that respawn still need to be killed with 0, 1, or 2 hits. This is why I didn't try to fight any bosses for additional loot, because that would just be way too much health to get through, but one of these Malfinito dies pretty much instantly. So I kill the one near the Demon of Song, and then put the area into New Game Plus and save her. Then I head back to Dragonslayer Castle, kill the one in the cage, New Game Plus the area, and... oh, she's not here. Well, maybe 3 targets it is then. Except it isn't because the door opened? I guess? For some reason, I thought you needed to save 2 of them for it to open, but I guess not. I can't find the article that I read saying that, so maybe all this time in Dragonslayer is just messing with my head. Either way, the shrine one gets smashed, then I head back to the first one, and now there are no more single Milfinitos in my area. Ladies, it's not too late to apologize to me, you know? I mean, I'm still gonna end you because Lemon demands blood, but... well, no more single Firekeepers in my area either. And that takes care of everything except McDuff, who's earned his keep, at least for now, so it's time to return to the Throne of Want. So I had discussed with Lemon about what to do with Throne Watcher and Defender living on 1 HP, and thankfully he was kind enough to say that this is just an intended game mechanic and that we can ignore it. So technically I had already 2-shot this boss, but I wondered if it was possible to 1-shot them. Watcher is easy enough to take care of, either with a lucky crit or the poison strat, but Defender put up a bit more of a fight. I think it's doable, but the problem is when the fight starts, there's 2 of them, and there's the strict 15-second Trident time limit. Most of the time, I would either mess up the poison timing or the Watcher would see its opportunity to take my life. At this point though, I was roughly 50 hours into this run and about out of storage space on my drives anyway, so I decided to just give up on the one-shot. 2 hits to take down the Throne Watcher, followed by Whispers of Despair to the Defender, and then letting him put me into RTSR range. I also put some lightning on my weapon just for the extra kick. Now, I wait, and eventually he goes to pick up his comrade and it's 2 shots to the back to take him down. And at long last, the final boss of the game, ignoring Aldia, Nashandra. She's apparently weak to strike and lightning, so I thought my big bonks would do a lot of damage. They did not. Old Faithful Heavenly Thunder showed more promise, though this was a misdirection as the first hit was a crit, leading me to think that it would just require some good RNG. Well, it does, but good doesn't begin to cover it. Before I start throwing myself at this game's version of the Manus Lottery, I thought it was finally time to take out an old friend, McDuff. Well, that was easy. So, what is the problem here? Well, Heavenly Thunder can get the job done, but it requires crits. And not just 1 crit, not 2, it takes 3. That is a 0.0125% chance of occurring. On top of that, it has to be 3 crits with all 8 bolts landing. Not a single one can miss. The good news is that she's actually relatively easy to land all the casts on. I mean, I wouldn't exactly say that it was common, but maybe 40% of the time or so all the casts would land, so that part isn't bad. It's just those damn crits. Either way, I tried. Over and over and over again, but to no avail. Seconds became minutes, minutes became hours, hours became, well, honestly just more hours because I could not dedicate multiple days of my life to this. At some point I thought, why not try the Greatsword plus Smelter Sword combo? Good damage, but not enough. I even cheated in the Age Smelter Sword just to see. I mean, if it was possible, maybe I would try Blue Smelter again, but this too isn't enough. I think the closest I ever got was 8 hits with 1 crit. Just no matter how many times I stepped into that arena, Nashandra refused to fall, and in the end, I decided that this was okay. That sometimes you can't win them all, and it's better to just walk away. And that's how this story was supposed to end, my friends. But then, something happened. A little behind the scenes for you all. Originally, this contest was supposed to end on October 31st. However, some of the other runners had some prior obligations and either wouldn't be able to enter or would be extremely pressed for time. Lemon, in his infinite kindness, or perhaps his desire to watch all of us wither in pain during this contest, decided to extend it until the end of November. Now, for me, that didn't actually matter. I already had all my footage recorded and ready to be turned in. I mean, sure, I could spend the month just passively trying Nashandra hoping for that triple crit, but I didn't really have any intent to do that. Then on one cool October evening, we were all huddled around the bonfire, sharing our stories and anxieties about these bosses. That's when it happened. Not my crit, oh no my friends, not that at all. This is when B&D sent a seemingly innocuous message. Little did he know, though, that this one message would reignite the fated fire in my soul. I forgot about the Dragon Torso Stone. According to the wiki, you get a damage boost for about 6 seconds after roaring with it on. Whether that would be enough or not, I wasn't sure, but regardless, I jumped onto my test character and started trying. Optimistically, I would be able to do more than half her health in a single attack, which would be 4,385 damage in a single hit. This proved impossible. No matter what I tested, I could not pull those kinds of numbers. I tried weapons I already had or had very easy access to. I tried some that I knew hit hard but I didn't have, like the dual Smelter Sword setup. I even tried pushing a hollow enemy all the way to the boss fog just to blow him up, but yeah, that also doesn't work. No matter what I did, it just seemed like it wasn't going to work, so maybe this was pointless. Then, on a whim, I thought, hey, let's try it with Heavenly Thunder. And I suddenly did about 400 more damage. For some reason, I thought it would only work on physical attacks, but no, the roar buff seems to be all damage. And now? Oh, now I was super excited. 1073 was a lot more than 961. And if all 8 bolts hit, maybe it's enough. But it's not. 1073 times 8 is 8,584, or 186 points short of her entire health bar. But what about if they crit? I mean, that's 1 crit's worth of difference, right? Yeah, I thought that too. Except being in dragon form removes all of your armor, replacing it with a black dragon set. Or, in other words, by entering dragon form, I'm no longer wearing the engraved gauntlets. And here I thought I was again at another dead end. But then it occurred to me, I have 2 hits to work with, and I'm not required to be in dragon form for both of them. What if I had the gauntlets proc on the first cast, then transformed for the extra damage. Specifically, what I was looking for was, would the damage increase from dragon form be enough to lower the amount of crits needed? The number to beat is 8770. One crit is 1441, plus 3 times 961, plus 4 times 1073, that is 8616. Close, but no cigar. However, if it's 2 crits, the total damage is now 9096, and that is enough. In fact, I can make this even easier. Without the Trident, the dragon boosted cast deals 1022, which with 2 regular crits totals 8892 damage. And just like that, I have lowered the chances from, yeah, never gonna happen, to, well, if you throw yourself at it enough, maybe? So that's just what I did. Over and over, I rained lightning down on Nashandra, hoping for 2 crits. Minutes became hours, hours became days, days became weeks, but no matter what I did, she was never any closer to being defeated. There is also one glaring caveat to this whole plan that I've overlooked until now, and that's that in order for this kill to happen, all 8 bolts have to land. Like I said before, she isn't the most difficult boss for this to happen on, but still, the idea that I would manage to get a double crit only to be robbed of victory because the winds of chance told me to go fuck myself didn't sound so good to me. After trying for what felt like an eternity, I decided to take a break because it occurred to me it might be possible to get another giant soul from the 2 giants in Black Gulch. Honestly, I don't think Vendrick would be doable, but if he is, Aldia has lower health than Nashandra, so he'd probably be easy to deal with if I managed her. Unfortunately, no soul drop, and Ancient Dragon still isn't going to happen, but this encounter did make me realize that I never thought about using a Poison Shred on Nashandra with the Dragon boost. After some more tests, I found that a lightning-infused Giant Warriors Club buffed with Sunlight Blade does the most damage. And of course in the right hand I have to use a Sanctum Mace, uninfused does the most damage. Great, now I just need to infuse my weapon. Alright, McDuff is, dead. Well, that's fine, I can just hang out in Majula with Casper the Sexy Ghost for 3 hours, just gotta equip the Leo Ring. Still the one-shot champ. With McDuff back, I am able to infuse my club with lightning and it's back to Nashandra, hopefully for the final time. So, just like with Heavenly Thunder, the most important thing would be to figure out if I can do this only in dragon form. Completely buffed up, I hit her for a staggering 3,258 damage. Add 1,000 for the poison damage and times it by 2 for the 2 shots, and that's 8,516. 254 points short. That is, most unfortunate, but 254 damage is very small. Small enough that 1 crit should be enough. Without dragon form, my hammer setup does 1640 on a strong hit and 1165 on the weak hit. For crits, that would be 2460 and 1747 respectively. If the Sanctum Mace crits, combined with the 1640 damage from the Warriors Club, 3258 from dragon form, and 2000 from the total poison damage, that comes to 8645. So close, but as I said with Velstadt, the larger the base number, the larger the crit. So if the Warriors Club is the one that crit, that comes to a total of 8,883, or enough damage to take her down. Except there's one issue. This calculation is assuming I'm hitting for the max amount of damage in dragon form. In other words, with the Trident buff active. Considering I would need to wait at minimum 20 seconds for the poison to fall off before I can attack again, the Trident buff will be long gone, so I need to dance in the fight. Without the Trident buff, dragon form instead does 3092, meaning the total damage numbers are 8479 and 8717. Neither are enough. The issue with rebuffing isn't finding the time. Her Curse Orb summons and vertical laser beam attacks do give enough time to get it off. The bigger issue is finding out a way to do it, while also being able to quickly roar and hit her, and proccing poison on that hit. Essentially, there are a lot of moving parts that all need to line up to make it happen. If only there was another way to get more damage. Well, actually, there is. Pine Resin. If I can apply Pine Resin to my Sanctum Mace before hitting her, then it should make up the difference. But the problem there is the same with using the Trident. Having to keep track of her poison buildup without being able to see it, then cast Dark Fog again, then switch to the mace to apply, because remember, switching off the weapon removes it, so it has to be the final thing in the buff order, was just infeasible. So were my only 2 options to dance or to rub electric dirt on my weapon? No, there is another. My friends, this whole video I have been using 1000 as the poison damage because it was a nice round number, but it's not actually how much damage that comes from being poisoned. According to Wikidot, it deals between 1050 and 1100 damage, meaning at worst my numbers are actually 100 points higher and at best 200 points. So I cracked out Cheat Engine again, and after some testing was able to determine that Nashandra takes 1095 damage from poisoning, meaning an additional 190 points of damage can be added to the total, bringing my values on a Tridentless second hit run to 8,669 and 8,907. And there it is, a way to kill her with one crit and only one Trident dance. The crit just has to come from the strong hit, otherwise we are 101 points short. Okay, so the math is there, but now's the hard part. Actually doing it. The first hit is pretty easy. There's more than enough time to buff up with Sacred Oath, Sunlight Blade, a Bright Bug, and a Trident before going in. Then cast Whispers, Dark Fog, walk about halfway, another Dark Fog, and switch to the Mace to smash. This guarantees the first hit will land at full damage and proc poison. It's what comes after that that's the problem. I already went over why the Trident buff will wear off before a second hit, but Sacred Oath and Whispers are also on a relatively strict time limit of 65 and 60 seconds respectively. Now, in a perfect scenario, it should be possible to get both hits within one cycle, but the timing on that would be extremely tight as it's necessary to also deal with her curse orbs and obviously not get murdered by her. You'd think just reapply those too, right? Well, casting Sacred Oath will cancel the Bright Bug, so it needs to be reapplied as well, and at that point, might as well also recast Sunlight Blade for the extra uptime. Plus, it's relatively fast to cast anyway, so there's virtually no danger. My setup was to have the Warrior's Club in my left hand, and Dragon Chime, Trident, and Sunlight Staff in the right, in that order, then after dancing outside the fog, swapping the Chime for the Sanctum Mace. Now let me finally show you what it all looks like put together. After buffing everything and landing the first hit, confirming it was a crit, I would immediately disengage the boss. There's almost always a curse orb where I came from, so I would take it out. Next, I would either take out another nearby orb or dodge her laser. It simply depended on what she did and if there was any nearby. In this case, her first attack was a slow combo and there was an orb nearby, so I got that one too, then she fired her laser. After dodging it, I transformed into the dragon. Since I already resigned to not doing it as quickly as possible, there's a lot of downtime here. So my goal now is to just clear the orbs while making sure to maintain a relatively high amount of health, but still in RTSR range. Once everything is cleared and she commits to a long attack, I make sure I'm out of the way of her animations going crazy and cast Dark Fog. Now I'm on the invisible clock. Getting Sunlight Blade, Sacred Oath, and the Bright Bug off aren't terribly hard. The only one that is a danger is the bug, but for me she casts another laser, so it's fine. Finally, I hit her with Whispers and waited. I knew she was going to cast the orb soon. Fortunately, it was the next attack she did, so I cast Dark Fog, roared, and then hit her with everything I got. She hit me back, but thankfully I had enough health to survive, so now all I have to do is wait. Slowly, the poison damage did its work, and after what felt like an eternity, she lived. I hit her to see how much health she had left, and it was 101, meaning I crit with the Sanctum Mace and not the Warrior's Club, which I did confirm by reviewing the footage. Now, to many this might seem like a defeat, to be taunted by the boss, but to me, it meant victory was within reach. After a few more attempts, I realized there was another optimization I could make, and it was staring me in the face the whole time. See, I cleared out my inventory to make menuing faster and easier, but I could just use the Black Witch Staff to cast both Miracles and Hexes, effectively reducing the amount of slots necessary from 4 in the right hand to 3. And since everything I'm casting is a utility spell, that doesn't concern itself with a catalyst to calculate damage. This is just the optimal choice. With that, I got to grinding. At first I figured I would just keep trying until I saw a crit. I mean, it's a 1 in 20 chance for it to happen, and that's not terrible at all. Then I just have to be a little lucky that it came from one hand and not the other. But this whole run, and especially so in this fight, I had been working to remove chance as much as I could. So I decided that I would try to put the Trident buff back into the second hit. After a few test rounds, I was able to determine that the optimal way to do it, I think, is to cast Sunlight Blade, Sacred Oath, Whispers, Bright Bug, Dark Fog 1, wait until the fog dissipates while keeping her in it for the whole duration, Trident buff, Dark Fog 2, roar, and hit her. And at long last, I present to you, my dear friends, the accumulation of all my work. As I ascend the giant steps to claim my well-deserved throne, I can't help but think this run exemplifies what these games are about. That all challenges, no matter how insurmountable they may seem, can be conquered with enough perseverance. Thank you, Lemon, for inviting me to this contest. Thank you, Andy, for your sage words of wisdom. B-Ann for accidentally giving me the answer to Nishandra. JK Leeds for understanding my frustration with pretty much every fight in the game. And to all the other awesome people around the bonfire who made for the good times along the way. And thank you to my subscribers. This run was actually being recorded at around the time we hit the 100k mark, though the video itself should come out after the 100,000 special. Yeah, no, assuming everything goes according to plan. Either way, it felt like everyone was cheering me on to finish, and I couldn't have done it without you. Also, a big thanks to all my Patreons who help keep the channel alive. If you're watching this on YouTube and you want to see more right now, why not consider subscribing to my Patreon, because for as little as $3 a month, not only can you support the channel and me directly, but you can also see the next video live right now. But until next time, my friends, don't you dare go hollow.